Solo bridging. With your feet close to your butt, bridge your hips straight up into the air. Alternate going straight up onto one shoulder and then the other shoulder. But no matter which shoulder you bridge up onto, your hips go straight up to the ceiling. The basic bridge is an excellent warm-up exercise. It works your core muscles as well as your legs. Hip movement in the forwards and backwards direction is a natural counterpart of the lateral hip movement we worked so hard to develop in our shrimping drills. This movement is just as important as lateral hip movement, but is often overlooked, perhaps because it is a little bit more strenuous. Solo bridging variations. In this drill, you lift your feet off the mat and then stomp them down to initiate the bridge. This method of bridging is somewhat more powerful and is useful for certain applications. Solo bridging variations. You can also practice bridging with your legs triangled. This way you have only one foot to push off the ground with. It's not as powerful a movement as when you had both legs, but when you are grappling, sometimes you can only use one leg to bridge with. Try to keep your triangled leg tight up against the back of your knee. It will want to creep down your leg, so make a conscious effort to keep it high. Weighted bridging. Start out with your partner sitting on your belly, his legs straight out in front. Now explosively bridge up into the air and coordinate the movement with your breathing out. Try to get your hips as close to the ceiling as possible. After 10 or more repetitions, hold the position, keeping your partner in the air. This develops the strength of your static bridge. Make sure to keep on breathing while you're in the bridged position. It is easy to forget and to hold your breath. Obviously you want to be warmed up before you try this exercise. If you did it cold, with a heavy partner, you could hurt your back. Mount bridging. Start flat on your back with your partner mounted on you. This drill is a little easier if he is wearing a belt. Grab the belt with both hands. Bridge into the air while simultaneously bench pressing his abdomen up into the air as well. Now, keep him elevated above you with locked out arms and drop your hips back down to the floor. Now bring one or the other knee up between your bodies. If you were actually escaping from the mount, you'd be well on your way to escaping by now. The key point of this drill is to coordinate the timing between your hips, arms, and legs. You are not bench pressing him into the air with the power of your arms. You are lifting him with your hips and then letting your arms take over. Holding him in the air requires a lot less strength than it looks, because both arms are locked out. If you were pushing his chest, you'd be susceptible to an arm lock. By pushing on his hips, you keep your arms a lot safer. If you don't have a gi, you can do a similar drill by placing both your hands on his hip bones, fingers turned outwards. Keza bridging. Start with your partner holding you in kezagatame, or the scarf hold. He has your head and is pulling on your arm above the elbow. Lock your hands around his ribs and give a small bridge. This bridge allows you to move your legs closer to your opponent, almost underneath his legs and hips. Now bridge him up so his head touches the mat, and once his head is touching, continue to roll him over, and now you take the top position. Take kezagatame and let him repeat the movement. He moves his legs closer, bridges me so that his hips are off the ground and my head touches the mat, rolls me and takes his grips. Kezagatame, or the scarf hold, is a terrible position to be caught in. In this drill you develop your bridge and you work on your escape at the same time. This drill needs to be practiced on both sides, because the way that we're demonstrating it here, you would only develop the bridge on one side. Straight sprawling. Start in a square stance, with your knees bent, head up, back straight, and your hands in front of you. Put your hands on the ground in front of you. Hop your feet back to a push-up position. Keeping your arms relatively straight, drop your hips and thighs down to the mat. Arch your back and look up. Hop back up to your starting position. Once you have the component parts, do the entire movement fast and smooth, without stopping or hesitating. Your imaginary opponent is shooting on you, and you don't have a millisecond to spare. As you can see from the side, the tops of my thighs are on the mat. There isn't actually that much weight on the balls of my foot at this point. Side sprawling. Start in a square stance, legs bent, head up, back straight. Place both hands on the ground. One leg goes straight back, and the hip of that leg hits the mat. The other leg goes out to the side at 90 degrees to your body. Your body is a bit twisted to help drive your one hip down to the mat. Hop up and repeat it on the other side. Hands down, leg back, leg out to the side. When an opponent is attacking one of your legs, as opposed to both legs, it is sometimes better to sprawl only that hip down to the ground. From this angle you can see how one hip is completely flat on the mat and the other is off the mat. Somersault and sprawl. First you do your basic somersault, come to a low squat, and then immediately sprawl your legs back. This is a two-part movement. You are going from curving your spine forward to curving your spine backwards.
Somersault and sprawl.
Trigger sprawling. Start in a square stance, facing your partner. He has three options. He can reach forward and slap the mat with both hands. You respond with a straight sprawl. He can reach forward and slap the mat with one hand. Respond with a side sprawl using that leg. He can reach forward with the other hand. Sprawl your other leg back. He now begins to mix up the feeds, and you respond to each feed or trigger with the appropriate kind of sprawl. Sprawling and bridging are related in the sense that they both use the explosive forward motion of the hips. In bridging, your belly is usually facing the ceiling, and in sprawling, your belly is usually facing the mat, but it is essentially the same movement. Here you can see how Richie is randomly varying the feeds and the rhythm of the feeds. Don't just feed them in a 1, 2, 3, 4 manner. Make it harder to anticipate. 1, 2, 3, 4. This drill is great for conditioning and for developing a sport-specific reflex. If you do a couple of 1-minute sets of this exercise, it's not only a good warm-up, it's a great little anaerobic workout. Turtle flips. Start by grabbing his far lapel, thumbs in, with both hands. Jump over into the bridge position, your head ending up past and slightly underneath his body. Now pull with both hands, kick off the floor, and try and jump back to your starting position. This is a good drill for developing back arch, spatial orientation, and developing your confidence. From this angle you can see that my head never touches the ground. My weight is supported by my feet and my arms. It's a little easier to do with the gi, but if you don't have a gi, just put your palms on his belly and chest and hold on tight.